Highly controversial and hey everyone, today we have the highly controversial and argued about Subculture palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. So I'm going to go step by step through this palette and we're going to try to figure it out. And like the other palettes in recent memory from Anastasia Beverly Hills, it is covered in velvet. So this is a blue velvet. It says it features grungy mattes and bold metallics with an underground edge. There's something very antique-y looking about these colors in this palette, and that's why I believe the colors in here go very well with the other recent palettes from Anastasia. Here it is compared with their Modern Renaissance. You can see just a very antique kind of color scheme in both of these. And here is the Master palette by Mario. It blends really well in with the theme of this one as well. Sort of dusty, antique-y colors. All three of these kind of just really go well together. So right away when I looked at this palette online and I saw the colors, I thought I would not get this palette because there are many colors on here I know I will never wear. I cannot see myself wearing this mustard or this really green gray right here, or this very gray green down here is like an army green. I can't see myself wearing several of the, or this tangerine actually, to be honest with you. I can't see myself wearing a lot of the colors in this palette, but some of the other ones I thought were so unusual. For instance, this color called Electric, I have that spotted in my lid, and I do like the color called Axis a lot. It is a very deep it's a very deep teal and it is a matte. So the thing about this palette everybody's talking about is that these mattes are extremely soft, deeply pigmented, but they're extremely soft, and when you dip into them the tiniest bit with your brush, they produce a ton of powdery fallout that sort of gets everywhere. You end up with a ton of it on your brush, and maybe more than you had intended to get on your brush, and you're having a problem blending it through on your eyes. So what you have to do, and what I did with this palette, is you have to go very slowly. You have to take your time on this palette. You have to be very careful and conscious of how you are touching your brush to these colors. They're very unusual, they're very pigmented, they're very pretty, but you have to be very careful when you're putting this on. I went very slowly today. I've dipped very lightly into these. So for instance, this is one of my softer crease brushes. I used it today. This is from It Cosmetics. A very fluffy and very soft. There are a lot of brushes that have maybe a stiffer bristle. For instance, the brush that came with the palette has a stiffer, more pointy feeling, thicker bristle on there. The bristles themselves are thicker than, say, the It Cosmetics one here. I will dip into it with the It Cosmetics. I used this a lot today, as you'll see, and I will show you how much powder comes out when you barely touch with a soft brush. So the brush it does come with is fairly stiff. If you dipped into one of the powders with this, I think you would get a ton of fallout because it is just a stiff, pointed, rather cheap feeling brush. I don't like a lot of these that they include in the palette, but I did use it today because the other end is very useful. I had to get right inside this inner corner with a color in the palette, and that was very useful for that. So taking my It brush that is very soft, I'm going to just barely tap, and I'll let you see how lightly I tap on some of these colors. The ones that I think are the worst are this Dawn color that I did use extensively today, this Roxy color. This color called Fudge seems to hold together a little better. The deep color called Axis is very fluffy. I'm going to put this towel across my lap because these are going to rain pigment down on me. So I'm not really even going to hold this very tightly. I'm just going to barely tap. So we got a little poof up with that. It is, yeah, you can get a lot, and look at how much I have on my brush. I mean, that would just be forever to blend that. When it really gets bad, and I'm going to clean this brush in a minute, that's why I'm going to do this. Where it really gets bad is here in this dark teal color here. Look at that pile right there. And I'm not even pushing that hard, and all of that color on there. Now the color called Fudge is not too bad. Yeah, you get some dimpling in there. I've used this palette now twice, so any of the little pokes you can see in there are from using it twice. It's pretty fluffy. I'm not sure what's going on with this palette. I think the pigment in it ended up making it very soft, but that's all anybody's talking about with this palette, is how soft it is and how it just gets everywhere and how fluffed up and you get just fallout all over the place. However, as I was putting it on today, I did not have any fallout under my eyes. I don't know why. I was very careful to tap very lightly and brush it off, all of that. So I think that helped a lot, but I didn't get any fallout under my eyes. I am also noticing, I did watch one other review on this palette. I've really only watched one. And I did notice that the person who had this on, it seemed to fade as she wore it throughout the day. She came back at the end of the day and showed us, and the colors had faded to just nothing. Especially she had on the deep purple and this deep teal. They were just gone. So I'm going to wear test this for you today. I'm not, however, going to wear test these eyelashes because I hate wearing false eyelashes for more than 2 minutes. So I'm going to wear test this for you today, and we're going to see how these colors stay on and how, if they fade or not. I will be taking off my eyelashes though, so don't expect to see those later. As far as the metallics, there are basically two very metallic-y shades. This one here called Adorn, and this one called Electric. And then there is a sort of a frost color here. It is the whitish pink. It's a very duochrome. You see how white it is? And then it goes very baby pink. Not a good highlighter color in this palette for under your brow, that's what type of thing. So I just left mine bare today. There's not really, you wouldn't really want to put this bright pink up there, and then this bright yellow chartreuse does not work either. So starting up here, this one is called Cube. You can probably barely see it. It is an icy pink. This one's called Adorn. Rowdy. Look at that. It is like dark purple black velvet. These are just intensely pigmented. This beautiful purple berry is called All Star. This one's called Mercury, Axis, Fudge, Dawn, Roxy. Up here we have Electric. You can barely see that. Electric and Cube are both fairly sheer as compared to the rest of the stuff in this palette. Even this glitter called Adorn, this metallic color called Adorn, is extremely densely pigmented. So those are my favorites from the palette. I have several of those on my eyes. Different kind of colors on this palette, a different kind of palette. So here is how I wore it today. Okay, I'm gonna go into the color called Dawn. It's very light tan, and I'm going to go into it very lightly. And I'm gonna have to knock quite a bit off because, as we are seeing, this palette likes to be dusty. So I'm going to use the very lightest touch with my crease brush, and I'm even having to dab and tap. This is not for people who are just starting out with makeup, that's for sure. So I'm going to put just a little bit of the color called Mercury, which is a gray taupe, right down there in my inner crease. I have a feeling I'm going to be going over that with something else later, but look at how draggy that is. And I even have a color on underneath there, so it shouldn't be that draggy. See my drag marks? Oh, look at the drag marks. Oh, trying to take drag marks out is not easy because you end up having to put more on. I don't like that, so I'm going to go back with the Dawn again and sort of go over and up to try to help some of that dragging. Okay, I'm going to use the little brush that came with it to put the color called Dawn. Just, oh boy, it is fluffing everywhere. I'm going to put that color just right in here. Then now I'm going to sort of pat the color called Adorn, which is this glitter right here. It's one of those soft, creamy glitters. And I'm going to tap that through the middle here. Still have drag marks on that inner crease, but I'm going to have to take those out with a different color, I think. I wanted to get some purple in here anyway. That color is really gray, isn't it? I wasn't expecting it to be quite so gray. I'm having to dust off a lot on this palette as I go. It is just really piling up. The color called, now I'm going to put the color called Fudge, which is a fudge color, in the outer part here. And I have been enjoying a fluffy, round, sort of creasy type brush to put my outer colors on because it really blends it nice. It just sort of softly blends it. I don't like the packed on look because then you can never quite get it blended out. So I'm just going to fluff that in there, and then I'm going to put a different color on top of that as well. Okay, I really like this color called Axis for something different. That is a deep teal. I'm going to put that on in the outer corner, and I'm going to put it on with a very small fluff brush. Once again, I'm enjoying my rounded type of brushes for outer corners. All right, let's dip into this. Okay, one dip. That's it. Very poofy. And then, because I really am not liking that mercury in the crease, it's so gray, I'm going to put a little of this color called All Star in there. All Star is a magenta berry color. Oh, there's a lot coming off on that. Okay. Just drag some of that up there. That mercury is making things look really muddy. Okay, that's better. That's a little darker than I wanted things to look, but... Okay, now I think we need to rebuild this crease up so that you can see more of the color up there, stroke up there. Okay, there's not really a highlighter on this palette that I would want to use under my brow. There's an extremely white pink, too pink for a highlighter, and then this I'm going to use in my inner corner. This is definitely not a brow highlight either, so we're just going to skip the brow highlight. I did to put a little of this electric, and it is chartreuse, a creamy glitter. I'm going to tap that in the middle here. Yeah, I like that better. Okay, I think I'm going to put a little Axis on my lower lash line, and just a little of the purple color called All Star. And dot just a little bit more of this electric right there. That is a chartreuse. So my overall thought on this palette is, I think I like it. It's just unusual. The color layout in here is unusual. Yes, there are several in here I know I will never wear. I just know I won't. But I think the color layout is unusual. I think it works well with her other palettes. I know it's a bit of a pain to work with, but you have to just take it very slow. Be very conscious of how you are dipping your brush in. Be ready to blend. Definitely spend some time on your blending. Be ready to go back and layer colors. I didn't really like this color called Mercury. I didn't like how gray it went in my crease. So I ended up putting some of the purple All-Star in there to sort of cover it up. So just be prepared to sort of layer if you need to. This is not a beginner's palette. I am not a makeup artist. I'm not saying I have huge amounts of experience with makeup. But if you are just starting out, I don't think this is the palette for you because it is going to require a lot of blending. It's going to have to be you're going to have to be very precise in where you put it on your eye, because once it's on, it's not really going to move too well because the color is so intense. It's also going to get everywhere as you are applying it, not necessarily on your face, but on your hair, your clothes, your hands, everywhere else. So I think maybe not for beginners, but people who have a little bit of experience with makeup, you can try this palette out, see if it works out for you. Tried out for the first time today a deluxe sample I got of Lancome's Monseiur Big. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that. Anyway, you know, really Lancome. Let's think of a different name for our mascara. Okay, come on. So this is a really nice mascara. It ended up kind of exceeding my expectations. Big fluffy brush on that, and it is a very smooth and thick formula. There's no clumps, no little dry chunks in there. Let me show you how it applied. Okay, I'm gonna try this out on my upper lashes. Oh, that's good. That is good. Wow. Extreme. I think I still like my L'Oreal Lash Paradise better though. The Lancome smell, that Lancome mascara smell. It's not, doesn't smell as strong as some of the other, their other mascaras smell a little stronger. This one's kind of more muted. Same scent, but just a little more muted. Yeah, I like that. Look at that. So I like it. I don't know if it's going to replace my L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I do put on mascara before I put my falsies on. I don't know. That Lash Paradise is just such a good deal, and it's just you get the big volume and all of that. This is really nice though. I'm glad I do have a sample of it, a deluxe sample, and I can use that one. I don't necessarily have to run out and get the full size, I don't think. Okay, so 8 hours later, completely unretouched here. I did take off my false eyelashes because I couldn't stand them anymore. But the Subculture pigments are still going strong. The video I had seen where someone had them on, you know, for a long period of time and it had so faded. I don't know, maybe she just had a lot on, but I am not seeing any fading. I did have lost a little bit of the oomph of that electric in here on this one eye, but I think overall the Subculture has held up really, really well. I've also kind of been interested to see how long this Bare Minerals foundation has held up, and it is still pretty good. There is some thinning right here. There is some loss of it around here like I usually get, and then my glasses have rubbed some of it off up there. So I still think it's a good long wear foundation. So anyway, I have tons of stuff to try on for you guys. I have an entire collection just about of the Dose of Colors summer stuff. I have some Dior things. I have some IT Cosmetics. I have just tons of Bobbi Brown, tons of stuff to share with you guys. So thanks for watching and I'll see you later.